Okay, so I'm going to start this off with just a couple reminders of heterozygous means like this is T, big T, little t, which is different. Different, hetero means different. So it's different versions of the allele. An allele is that spot on the DNA, okay? And then homozygous means same. So homo means same. And the dominant, homozygous dominant, is going to be two uppercase T's. And recessive is going to be two lowercase t's. And that's just what that means, okay? So when I'm going over the next few things, let's make sure we understand that. So this is for dihybrid crosses. So I'm going to cross a heterozygous for both traits. So a big T, little t. I'm doing a tall and a round. This is for pea plants. I'm going to cross that with another heterozygous. Big T, big R, little r. And then I have to figure out what my alleles are going to look like. What are the things that I could pass on to the next generation? Okay, so I have we could use FOIL for this. So when we do FOIL, we're going to talk about our first. We're going to draw a little imaginary line here between these two here. Okay, and you're going to talk about the first in each of these little sections, the first of each trait. So that's going to be big T, big R. Comes from this big and this one. Outside, big T, little r. This one and this one. Inside, right here, this is going to be little t, big R. And typically we do dominant first, but we're keeping the traits in order, so it's always going to be T and then R, no matter the size of the letter. And then last is going to be these two. The last two, little t, little r. Okay? Because these are the same as these, because this is the same as this, you're going to have the same for the other parent. Okay? So I'm going to transfer those to my punnet here. Be 16 squares. And I'm just going to put the T, big T, little t, big R, little r up here just to remind myself of what I'm doing here. Okay, so this one has my first, which is my big T, big R, outside, T, little r, inside, little t, big R, and last, little t, little r. And the same thing going to be down here. Because, and this is only because these are the same traits. Okay, then in here, it's just a matter of, I'm not going to do the whole entire one. I'm just going to say this is going to bring this one down and this one over. So big T, big R, down this way. It's going to be big T, big R, little r, big T, big R, and big T, big R, little r. And then you just go across the entire thing. It's bringing it over, bringing it down, making sure that the dominant one for the for each trait is first. Okay, I'm not going to do the entire thing though for here because I have some other things to remind you of. All right, so if I say that I have, so T is for tall. Little t codes for short. Okay, so if I say in the question that I have a heterozygous plant for tall, a heterozygous tall plant is crossed with a short plant, I don't need to tell you that that's little t for the short. I'm going to say it's heterozygous for tall, have a heterozygous tall plant that is crossed with a short plant. The only thing it can be is little t. Because you wouldn't even know it was short. I mean, you wouldn't be able to, it wouldn't show up as being short if there was any big T in there. So this is in your homework that we just did, or that you had. There's a lot of these that are just going to say a heterozygous for one trait is crossed with a thing that's going to be indicating that it's going to be a recessive trait. So whenever it shows up, whenever a recessive gene shows up or is expressed, it is because both alleles, both the things that you get from the parent, are recessive. Okay? Both of the alleles are recessive. So for example, little t, it's only going to show up as short when it has both. I hope this makes sense because there's several questions that'll say like that woolly is dominant to non-woolly, and so it was like woolly is dominant, non-woolly, little w, is recessive, and it'll say a woolly man who's heterozygous, so you know that that's going to be this. It crosses with a non-woolly woman, and it won't give you anything heterozygous dominant or homozygous, well, heterozygous dominant's not a thing, homozygous dominant or homozygous recessive, but you're supposed to know, because it's recessive, that it is little w, little w. And I put that little line under there to remind myself that it is a little w, and it is different from the big W's because W's get a little confusing. Okay, that's a very short video. Hopefully it makes sense. Let's go over one more thing with FOIL. So let's do a big T, big R, little r crossed with a little t, big R, little r. Okay, just because. So we're going to do the first is, we put a little line down the middle here. First, outside, inside, last. And on this one, we have put our little line down the middle. First, outside, inside, last. Okay? And then you take these and you put these on top and these go on the side. Okay, and that's how you cross them. Do one more of those. Let's do a big T, big R, and a big T, little r. Yeah, pretend it's a little r. Okay, so over here we're going to have first, outside, inside, last. Okay, and on this one we have our first, outside, inside, inside, and last. Okay, and you'll find as you're doing these 16 of them, so many of them are going to be the same, but sometimes you just want to work it all out just to make sure that you get it right.